on, my friends? I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and obviously this is not my first take of the morning. We are looking at BattleTech Classic Jihad Hot Spots 3072. And, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just... Oh, I had to... I'm not gonna lie. I got lost trying to keep up with this one. I mean, it is a lot of stuff. But it's all nickel and dime little bits and pieces that kind of this weird loose tapestry, just like the whole Jihad layout for the books have been. This one is just as bad. And actual truth is that unless you really can sit there and focus in on it, or you're really a big fan of it and was involved when it came out, apparently, I'm really struggling the hell out of just trying to get through it. And I kept losing my place and losing interest, and I got a little cheese on more than one occasion. The only thing really that leapt out at me from this particular book that I really kind of found useful and interesting, and both from an information perspective and as a game perspective, is of course the appendix sections that usually get added onto the back of a lot of these books. And this one here, I can get to the damn thing. Oh yeah, come on, there we go. The rules annex. So we're dealing with the mani domini, or how the hell you all want to pronounce that. I am not the best pronunciator in at the best of times, and the weirder the names. I know it's Greek. No, it's not Greek. It's classic Greece or whatever. Manili Domini or Manali, whatever. But I was fascinated by the whole concept of these hybrid cyber slash cyber organic or bioorganic creations from a number of perspectives. Least of all, that's a component of my own game system, and I didn't know that they were doing this when I was working on that. And that's just kind of the way things will parallel sometimes. It was also a very dark and twisted way to address the advantages the clans geneticists have created for them, and their scientists in the engineering department have created for them, because apparently the inner sphere has no real serious drive or will to catch up, let alone surpass clan tech, which you would think by the sheer amount of resources and intelligence that they have available to them, the houses should surely be able to do that. But to what gain? What gain would it give them, in a game perspective? Anyway, so we talk about the creation rules, and it really gave me a little bit more in-depth details about the mechanics of how these hybrid humans function, how they're created, and their pros and cons. It still does not do a good job of telling me, I don't know, their story. And I'm sure their story is out here somewhere. Someplace there will be a story that gives us a really good view of their creation and their purpose and their initial purpose. And I have to assume that this is not something that Elements Within Comstar was recently developed. This has got to have been technology that dates back to the old Star League. And we know that from lore, there's plenty of breadcrumbs to back that up, because the Magistracy of Canopus, is one of its fames is the fact it has some of the most advanced trained doctors in and out of the inner sphere, and in part to do that means they've had access to some really great medical experience and knowledge and education base that had to come from somewhere, and we know it came from the Star League era. Actually, it came from before the Star League era. So this stuff is not new technology. It's just been redirected to a new purpose, and it goes along with some of that really dark, whispery conspiracy crap that goes along with some of the dark case of the clans that we found in Interstellar Players. And I kind of like that stuff, because there's just enough there to give you a really big what if we did this kind of thing in your own campaign, your own game, without completely warping or twisting the existing game system so that the flavor completely changes. That was the danger for introducing this kind of stuff to the game system as a overall. So by insisting on this kind of the Minari Danami or whatever existing and actually being in combat and presenting forces that would be, you know, the uber bad guys to deal with, we have taken the game creators had crossed the threshold that had never been crossed before, taking it much further into the deep sci-fi version of what the game could be, right? It's a slippery slope and it can be tricky. And it's not surprising that the majority of these fine folks were obliterated at the conclusion of the jihad, and or have disappeared, which begs the question: where did they go, and are there more out there? You know, what else could be lurking somewhere? But the mechanics for the material and talking about what they can do and their advantages and stuff, this is some great material. It really is. It's a good thing this came out after I did my own, because I probably would have tapped into it and borrowed stuff. Because I'm telling you, every game system ever created since the very initial role-playing game and tabletop war game, they're borrowing crap from the previous people, and you can't call plagiarism on it. So anyway, we got, of course, some new vehicles and support vehicles. Always like this sort of stuff because there's not enough of it in the game as far as I'm concerned. And of course, a lot of arguments will be, well, we don't need all that because we don't engage in attacks on logistic chains and etc. etc. No, you don't. But from a person who likes the nuts and bolts of the game too, I want to build a unit. I want the unit to have consistency. I want the unit to make sense. And I can't have just a battalion of mercenary mechs flinging itself around the inner sphere on a whim without having some checks and balances and some some solid foundation to support them. It doesn't make that, in my mind, it isn't worth. How we get introduced to the Celestial OmniMechs series. Now, there's a whole lot of y'all who are really big fans of Celestials, and I have a big advantage. I'm at a great disadvantage because I've never been in combat with one or faced one, so I have no clue just how well or how much better these things are, supposedly, than anything else the Inner Sphere has got. So, is what it is. It was still interesting to read it and to see some of the stuff that's going on in there. I mean, I don't know side by side by equivalent to Inner Sphere or Clan Mechs. That'd be the only way I could make a real good comparison on these things. Somebody else is going to have, there's a couple of y'all got some killer channels with hellaciously better details on this stuff, and eventually, I'm sure, if nobody else will, Red will get around to it to do videos on them at some point. Then we get our, our record sheets and stuff to go with some of these new entries. It's an okay book. Don't get me wrong. If you really, like I said, I'm beginning more and more to understand the missing Dark Age / Jihad era that I was missing out on by way of these things. There's another book yet to read. I think there's 4 in this series. I've read 3 so far. I have another one to do. It's supposed to be the concluding one. I've read part of it, and I want to say Mechanical Frog did a video on it. It might not have been him. It did a video on it, and after watching their video, it was do I really need to do I need to read the book? Yeah, I'm going to read the book because you never know. There's always nuances in these things. It's a matter of how we interpret stuff and what we take away from what the holy text says. Anyway, I'm Rick. You're not. Well, Missy's over here in the corner being quiet and behaving herself. And we are now into the month of December of 2023. It just irritates me to no end.